Hey everyone, welcome back. So I'm gonna do another recipe cooking show today, and can you guys see all my ingredients? Can you guess what I'm gonna make? That's right, you guessed it. I'm gonna make some baked ziti. So let me start by listing all of the ingredients. You will need some ziti pasta shells. You will need some, you can use either ground turkey or you can use some ground beef. If you want to go veggie, you can substitute the ground meat for some mushroom, some brown small bella mushrooms. What you can do is saute them up until all of the water evaporates. So chop them up really small first, like dice them into small little pieces, and then fry them up until all the water evaporates, and then set them aside to be used in your meat sauce, in your pasta sauce. And then you will need some pasta sauce. I typically go for the Prego basil or the traditional sauce, but you know, times are tough right now, and I saw this on sale for 98 cents, so I thought I'd give it a try. And plus it's organic, and the reason why I like Prego is because I usually don't have to add any extra seasoning or adjust the acidity or the tartness, but because I'm using a different brand today, I'm gonna taste it to see if I need to add any sugar, because I can't stand sour pasta. This is really good. It doesn't taste sour at all. It has probably a lot of sugar in here, but yeah, I won't be using any sugar today for this. And we will need some bell pepper. Probably I'll use about a half or a third of this. Small onion, some garlic. Whenever I'm making a pasta dish, I'll always try to add extra onion, garlic, and pepper. This just enhances the flavor of the pasta sauce. We will also need some mozzarella, which I'm gonna cut into slices, some Parmesan cheese. You can get the whole cheese and shred it up yourself. I like to go the easy route and just buy the ones that's already shredded up. I have some extra mozzarella cheese, which I may or may not use. It's been in my freezer, and I'm thinking I should just like use it up. We'll see how this goes. And then you will also need some ricotta. All right, so as you can see, I went for skim with the mozzarella, and I chose whole milk for the ricotta. I know that a lot of people are health conscious, especially as you get older, but you have to remember that if you're going to be using a lot of these fat-free or part skim, it's not gonna taste the same. And you know, if you're trying to lose weight, you probably or trying to maintain your weight, you probably shouldn't be having baked ziti anyway. But I just personally feel like if I'm gonna have baked ziti or a dish that's like this, I might as well just go all the way and use like whole milk. But this time I was like, all right, let me just try part skim with the mozzarella and stick with whole milk with the ricotta. We'll see how it goes this time. Otherwise, when you try to use fat-free with everything or part skim, it tastes really tough and dry. It's not as juicy and gooey and oozy like it should be. And the Parmesan is usually just one type. I never seen a fat-free Parmesan. I had the sugar here handy, but I don't think I'm gonna need it because this sauce tastes pretty good. It doesn't taste sour. And then some oil to fry up your ground turkey or ground beef. You also might need some Italian seasoning blend. I may or may not use this. It really depends on, you know, when I'm tasting as I'm cooking to see if I want to adjust the taste. But we'll see how that goes. You will need a pot for frying up your meat and sauce. You will need a pasta pot for boiling your zitis, and you will also need to have handy a casserole dish. right, so I'm gonna prepare everything, slice up the cheese, get everything ready, and then we'll begin. Alright, so I decided to just use, as I said, only about 1/3 of the pepper. So I'm just gonna cut these up, dice this up into small bits. Take out the core. I forgot what you call this part. I think it's called the membrane. And then I'm gonna slice them up like so. First into strips. And then like so. The smaller the better, because I personally don't like biting on big chunks of bell pepper in my sauce. And when you cut them up this size and you fry them up, they're going to shrink and almost dissolve into the sauce. And now I'm gonna dice up my onion. I actually had about I think this was like a medium size, half of a medium size onion in my onion pot, so I'm gonna use this instead of using the smaller onion that I had earlier. And the easiest way to dice up onion is to first cut it in half, just like this, and peel it. And onion is actually like, it's layers, like rings. Well, layers, I should say, not rings, layers. So it makes it easier to dice up. I'm gonna cut this brown thing off here first. And then you turn it sideways like this and cut adjacent to the stem part of the onion, because this kind of helps keep everything in place as you're cutting. You just go like that. This way. And then you turn it sideways and then you dice this way. You turn it this way so you can see. If you have a serrated knife, it's much easier. But I like using my meat lever that my mom gave me. Especially like towards the end over here, it's much easier if you have a serrated knife. I'm just like this now around the stem area. We don't want to eat that. We don't want to fry up that stem. I'm gonna throw that stem away. We have that left. We can throw that away. And now we're gonna mince our garlic. The easiest way to open garlic is to smash it. It's something hard to smash it down, and it'll make it much easier to peel off the skin. And then we just, the bigger the surface that you have, the easier it is also. You need a lot of room to chop up garlic. Another easy thing that you could do is you can simply just get a what is it called here, a grater. Get your grater, use this part of the grater, and you just grate your garlic into whatever you're cooking. It's much faster, but today I'm just gonna show off a little bit of my culinary skills and dice it up with this cleaver. If you're not going to be frying your garlic, which is what I'm going to be doing today, a trick that I discovered on my own is you could just add like a tip of water here, just like a few drops, and it'll help keep the garlic off of the knife so that everything can easily get chopped up. But because I'm going to be putting this in oil, I am not going to do that. I'm just going to keep scraping it down so it can get nice and chopped up. I want it to be really tiny, really minced, so I'm going to be You have to be patient when it comes to cooking. I don't want to taste any big chunks of garlic in my pasta sauce. So I'm going to be here for another minute or so chopping up this garlic. Bust them down back onto the board. Pile it up again. And then just another minute. I'm using like a rocking motion. The knife is pretty heavy, so you don't have to put a lot of elbow grease into this. You just rock it back and forth. When you're buying a meat cleaver, make sure that the end has kind of like a curve so that it's easier to chop up and mince vegetables like this. Alright, I think that's small enough. Okay, so now I'm gonna slice up my mozzarella cheese. This is a very messy job. I don't know any easy way of slicing up mozzarella cheese, except that maybe if you run your knife under some warm, very hot water, it might make it a little bit easier. But I want to do these in slices. And if you decide to get shredded mozzarella, that's make your life easier, that's great. There's no problem, nothing wrong with that at all. But I think maybe it's because this was on sale, and I consciously, like subconsciously, I feel like maybe I might be getting more when I get the block. So I'm gonna slice these up. Okay, so this is what I ended up with. It's part skimmed, so it was really tough to cut up. I ended up just like ripping them into smaller pieces at some point, but hopefully it wouldn't really make a difference because it's gonna melt into our casserole. And as long as you're making the amounts even for both layers, it shouldn't be a problem. So now I'm going to prepare the meat sauce. Alright, so I have a pot here, and it's a pot where the size is just enough so that you can cook your ground beef and your pasta sauce. Because when we're ready to put everything together, I'm going to be pouring this into a bigger pot to mix everything all together and put it inside of our casserole. So I have the stove on a low to medium heat just to burn out any excess water, and then once all the water is evaporated, I'm going to add just a little bit of oil to cover most of the bottom of the pot, and then turn it down on a low flame. Because what we don't want is we don't want to burn our garlic, onion, and pepper. We're going to saute the garlic, onion, and pepper first, but we do not want to burn them. We just want to release the flavor of everything, the sweetness of the onion and the pepper, the spiciness of the garlic, because we just want to enhance the flavor of our pasta sauce. Not too much oil, folks. Alright, we just want to make them sweat. We're not burning our food. Smells good already. Make them sweat for another minute or two. Do people do this in your house? That's such a black thing, I think. Sometimes I think it's like just a habit. It's not really necessary. Like, I know that we're trying to get the food off of the spoon, but it's not necessary to bang so much. Okay, I'm gonna turn up the flame just a little bit more, closer towards a medium heat, so it could sweat really good before we add our meat. all of these are gonna shrink in our sauce when we start cooking it down. All right, so I think we're ready to put in our ground turkey. And fry up our turkey. Break it up as you stir. This is poultry, and then it's also ground poultry, so we need to make sure that this is cooked to at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if you're new to cooking, you might want to use your thermometer to make sure that it reaches a safe temperature before you're ready to serve. But when we add the sauce, I think it's gonna get there. I think that food is not only is food an art, but I also think food is also science. I think that you use creativity and science to cook, and make meals. So I like to always incorporate science, especially when it's a matter of safety. Like, just make sure that you're cooking certain foods at a safe temperature, especially in our country where the farms are not always, they're not always the best. They don't operate in the best way to make our food safe and healthy. So because of that, and because of like diseases and viruses, bacterias, foodborne illnesses, we have to make sure that we're cooking certain meats at a safe temperature. Like with ground meat and poultry, you want to make sure that if there does happen to be any salmonella in it, if we cooked it at 165 degrees, that salmonella will be killed off and it will be safe to eat. Different types of meats carry different diseases. Like pork, it would be trichinella, which is a type of parasite. It's not a worm, right? A lot of people like to say that pork has worms. The parasite that pork was known to have to make people sick is not something that you can see with the naked eye. But if you cook it to at least 155 degrees, that trichinella parasite will be killed off and it will make your pork safe to eat. But most of our farms, like nowadays, like pork doesn't really have that disease anymore. That was like ancient biblical time stuff, like before people understood safe farming practices and stuff. Anyway, I'm not like trying to claim to be like a food nutritionist or food scientist, but for you pork police who are always misinformed, talking about pork has worms. Anyway, no offense to people who don't eat pork. If you don't eat pork, that's fine. But I think that we should make sure that we're sharing accurate information all the time. I'm gonna turn this up a little bit so it can cook at a higher temperature. Now that it has a lot of water, it's okay to turn it up a little. I want to make sure that these pieces of meat, ground beef, are like fine as possible, so we have like a nice smooth meat sauce. I don't like big chunks of ground meat in my pasta sauce. Alright, let's add the pasta sauce now. Actually, you know what? Let me do this. I'm going to make sure all of this water is evaporated off, and once most of this is gone, then we'll add our pasta sauce. Okay, so most of the water has been evaporated out, so now I'm going to add the sauce so this can continue to cook. I'm going to turn down the flame. the sauce to start burning. Most of this out. Let's see. Let's see if I can get most of it out with this. Like I said, guys, like even though my parents are Jamaican, I'm very much Americanized, and sometimes you get tired of eating the stuff that you grew up with and you want to eat something different. And pasta dishes are good. It's filling, it's satisfying, and you can also make it very nutritious as well. For example, you can use ground turkey like I did, which is a lot leaner than beef, less saturated fat. You can use like a healthier type of pasta, like maybe some whole wheat pasta or something. I'm using regular pasta. The last time I used a whole bag of pasta and I had to make like 1.5 casseroles, and then my sauce was my mixture of baked ziti shells with sauce, it was too dry. Like the ratio of pasta to sauce was too much pasta shells to this meat sauce. So I'm not going to use a whole bag today. I think I'm going to use about 2/3 of it instead. Yeah, I think 2/3 should do it so that it can fill this entire pasta casserole. While your sauce is boiling, you can start your water. Get a pot of water boiling so that you can cook your pasta shells. And the instructions on this says to cook it for 7 minutes, but because we're going to be putting them in the oven, we're not going to boil them for 7 minutes. We're going to boil them for about maybe 4 minutes, and then they will cook the rest of the way inside of the oven. Okay, so I boiled my pasta for about 5 minutes. They're all still pretty hard, but as I said, they're gonna cook the rest of the way in the pasta when we bake the ziti. So I'm gonna set my oven to 375 degrees. Preheat the oven, and I'm gonna pour in the meat sauce. I turned the meat sauce off after about 10 minutes of boiling, cooking, because I wanted to make sure that it went to a safe temperature, and then I let it rest for about 4 minutes. And now I'm gonna pour the meat sauce onto the ziti shells. I ended up using about 2/3 of the ziti shells. Because I don't like all that pasta. I like there to be like an even ratio of pasta sauce, cheese, and shells. I don't want it to be where it's mostly shells and just a little bit of pasta sauce, a little bit of cheese. And this still looks like it's gonna be a lot. So you mix that up If you have, some of them are stuck together. If you happen to have some fresh parsley, any kind of fresh herbs, fresh basil, fresh parsley, fresh oregano, put that in there. I ended up adding some dry Italian herb mix as well because I felt like it wasn't aromatic enough. It wasn't Italian-y enough for, I don't know, it tastes good, but I just didn't get that smell, that Italian pasta smell that you're supposed to get. Let me taste this. It's pretty good. I'm gonna now add some ricotta. And I want it to be ricotta spread out evenly. So I'm gonna put little dollops of ricotta throughout. I love ricotta in lasagna and big ziti. I think I would say maybe about a cup of ricotta should do it for this amount of shells and sauce. Yeah, I think that should do it. Let's see if I can get all of this off of the spoon and off of my fingers. Okay. That whole milk ricotta is gonna make this so smooth and creamy and gooey. So we don't want to like do too much when it comes to mixing. We just want to make sure that it's incorporated. All right, so now we're gonna prepare our casserole. So we're gonna do 2 layers. We're going to put half of it in first. That's about half. We're going to put a layer of mozzarella. Make sure you cover as much as you can so every inch of the casserole gets a bit of mozzarella. All right, that should do it. That should do it. Now we're gonna add some of the Parmesan cheese. I feel like the mozzarella adds texture and the Parmesan cheese adds flavor. The mozzarella and the ricotta adds texture. The ricotta adds a velvety texture. The mozzarella adds a gummy, gooey texture. The Parmesan cheese adds flavor, cheesy flavor. Like the second layer has less, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. All right, so we're gonna add the mozzarella. This is a lot of cheese. I hope it's not too much. I cut everything up, so I might as well use everything. Alright. I hope it's not too much. And then we're gonna add more of the Parmesan. So that bag of shredded mozzarella that I had earlier, I'm not gonna bother using that. I'll probably just toss that out since it expires in October. All right, so now we're ready to put this in the oven. I'm gonna put this on top of a pan just in case anything oozes out while it's baking. I'm gonna garnish it with just a little bit of Italian seasoning. Let's see. Can I do it this way? If you had like fresh basil or parsley, that would be even better, but I just have this. So. And then you're gonna bake this for I would say like 20 minutes, no more than 20 minutes, because really everything is already cooked. You're really just infusing everything together. The only thing that's not really fully cooked is the pasta, but it shouldn't take that long for the pasta to cook, bake in the 15 minutes time. Like, it's gonna absorb the sauce as it cooks. Yeah, and we'll be right back to see how it comes out. Okay, so it's been about 25 minutes. What I did is I put it in the oven at 375 degrees for about 15 minutes. And when I checked on it at 15 minutes, it was brown around the edges, but the overall surface is not brown enough. So I turned up the oven to 460 degrees and I put it back in for another 10 minutes. And this is the result. It came out perfectly browned, nice color. If you have one of those handheld torches that can help you brown your surface better, or if you have a broiler, you can just pop it in the broiler on low heat for about 5 minutes and it'll help give it a nice color as well. My broiler was a little too narrow inside for such a thick casserole dish, so I had to just put it in the oven on a higher temperature for 10 minutes. And so now we're just gonna let this sit for 5 minutes, cool down before we start serving it. All right, so it's been 5 minutes and we're ready to serve. I'm gonna, oh, this looks so good. I'm gonna start in the middle here. Cut into the cheese. Wow, this is very cheesy, guys. I think this is more cheesier than I would like it to be. Maybe I added a little bit too much mozzarella. Maybe, I don't know. This looks like it's about 1,000 calories right here. But let's see how it tastes. Let's give it a taste. Oh, it's so delicious, guys. It is really heavy with the cheese, but it's still delicious. I think that next time I will add less mozzarella, but it's so good. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe. I hope that you try this recipe and make any necessary adjustments that you see fit, and enjoy eating. Thank you for watching. Until next time.